The massive alien ships appeared in Earth's outer solar system on a Tuesday morning in October 2157. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his third cup of coffee aboard the Earth Defense Force vessel Terra Nova when the alarm bells started ringing throughout the ship. He set down his mug and rushed to the bridge where his crew was already working at their stations. "Report," Jake said as he took his captain's chair. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Bell turned from his console with wide eyes. "Sir, we have 12 unknown vessels approaching from beyond Neptune's orbit. They're huge, bigger than anything we've ever built." Jake looked at the main screen where the alien ships appeared as bright dots moving steadily toward the inner solar system. Each ship was at least 3 times the size of Terra Nova, and Terra Nova was already the largest military vessel humanity had ever constructed. "Any communication attempts?" Jake asked. "None, sir. They're not responding to any of our signals." The alien fleet stopped near Jupiter and remained there for 3 weeks. During that time, Earth's military leaders held emergency meetings while scientists tried to understand what the visitors wanted. Dr. Lisa Grant, Earth's top expert on theoretical alien biology, worked day and night studying the ships through powerful telescopes. "They're scanning us," Lisa told the Emergency Council in Geneva. "I can detect energy beams coming from their vessels, but they're not hostile scans. They seem to be studying our planet and our technology." President Amy Rodriguez leaned forward in her chair. "Any idea what they want?" "Not yet, but I think they're trying to understand what kind of species we are before making contact." General Chris Parker, head of Earth Defense Command, wasn't happy with waiting. "We should send ships to intercept them. Show them we're not afraid." "That might be seen as aggressive," Lisa warned. "We don't know their intentions yet." After 3 weeks of silence, the aliens finally sent a message. It came through all of Earth's communication systems at once, translated into every human language. The voice was cold and mechanical. "Primitive species of the third planet, we are representatives of the Zephyrian Empire. We wish to meet with your leaders. Send 1 ship to coordinates we are transmitting now. Come unarmed and alone." Jake Morrison was chosen to lead humanity's first diplomatic mission to meet the aliens. Terra Nova was stripped of all weapons and flew toward the alien fleet with a small diplomatic team. Besides Jake, the team included Dr. Lisa Grant, Admiral Peter Hayes, and 3 other specialists in various fields. As Terra Nova approached the alien flagship, Jake felt his heart beating faster. The alien vessel was enormous, shaped like a long crystal with multiple sections connected by thin bridges. Strange lights pulsed along its surface, and Jake could see smaller ships moving around it like insects around a hive. "Terra Nova, follow our guide ship to the docking bay," came a voice from the aliens. A small alien craft appeared and led them to an opening in the side of the massive ship. The docking bay was huge, filled with alien vessels of different sizes and shapes. When Terra Nova landed, Jake and his team put on their environmental suits and walked down the ramp. The aliens were waiting for them. They stood about 8 feet tall with gray skin that looked like armor. Their heads were larger than human heads, with 4 eyes arranged around their faces. They had 6 arms ending in hands with too many fingers, and they moved with smooth mechanical precision. "Welcome aboard our vessel," said the lead alien in perfect English. "I am Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. Follow me to the meeting chamber." The inside of the alien ship was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The corridors were wide and tall, with walls that seemed to be made of living metal that shifted and moved. Strange symbols appeared and disappeared on the surfaces, and the air hummed with energy. The meeting chamber was a large room with a curved ceiling that showed images of space and distant stars. Commander Vexistar sat behind a curved table with several other aliens, while Jake and his team were given smaller chairs that barely fit human bodies. "Your species interests us," Commander Vextar began. "We have observed your planet for several of your weeks. We have studied your technology, your cities, and your behavior patterns." Jake tried to keep his voice steady. "We're honored by your visit. Earth welcomes peaceful contact with other intelligent species." The aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Commander Vexitar looked at Jake with what seemed like amusement. "Peaceful contact. Yes, we can arrange that. Your species shows potential, despite your obvious limitations. You are physically weak, with short lifespans and primitive technology. Your bodies are fragile and require constant protection from your environment. However, you reproduce quickly and seem capable of following simple instructions." Admiral Peter Hayes leaned forward. "We may not be as advanced as your people, But humans have survived and thrived on our world for thousands of years. Survived, yes, said another alien. But barely. We have studied your history. You spend most of your time fighting each other over resources and territory. Your wars are crude and wasteful. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no enhanced senses. Most species in our empire would consider you prey animals. Dr. Lisa Grant spoke up. Perhaps we can learn from each other. We could share knowledge and technology for mutual benefit. Commander Vexitar's 4 eyes focused on her. Learn from you? What could a primitive species possibly teach the Zephyrian Empire? We have conquered and absorbed thousands of worlds, each with species far more advanced than yours. The commander stood and walked around the table. His movements were graceful but intimidating. However, we are not without mercy. We offer your species a choice. Submit to becoming a protectorate of the Zephyrian Empire. You will provide labor and resources, and in return, we will protect you from other hostile species and allow you to continue existing. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. And if we refuse? Then you will be eliminated and we will take what we need from your world anyway. The choice is simple. Serve us willingly or be destroyed. The room fell silent except for the humming of alien machinery. Jake looked at his team and saw the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. Commander Vexitar, I appreciate your offer, but I must decline on behalf of humanity. We are not a species that bows to others regardless of their power. The aliens looked at each other with what seemed like surprise. Commander Vexitar sat back down and stared at Jake for a long moment. You refuse? Even knowing that our technology is far superior to yours? Even knowing that resistance means certain death for your entire species? Yes, we refuse. The commander made more of those laughing sounds. Fascinating. Your species is even more primitive than we thought. You cannot recognize an obviously hopeless situation. Very well. We will give you 30 of your solar days to reconsider. When we return, we will expect your surrender. If you still refuse, we will demonstrate why no species has ever successfully opposed the Zephyrian Empire. The meeting ended quickly after that. Jake and his team were escorted back to Terra Nova and allowed to leave. As they flew back toward Earth, Jake looked out at the alien fleet still hovering near Jupiter. They really think we're going to just give up, Admiral Hayes said. They don't understand humans at all, Lisa added. They see our physical limitations but miss everything that makes us strong. Jake nodded and opened a communication channel to Earth Defense Command. General Parker, this is Captain Morrison. The aliens have given us 30 days to surrender or face destruction. I recommend we use that time to prepare for war. Understood, Captain. Welcome home. We have work to do. 3 months had passed since the aliens gave their ultimatum, and Earth looked very different now. Every shipyard on the planet and in orbit worked around the clock building new vessels. Factories that once made cars and appliances now produced weapons and armor plating. The entire human race had united for the first time in history with one simple goal: survival. Commander Vexitar returned to Earth's solar system expecting to find a surrendering planet. Instead, his sensors detected the largest military fleet in human history. Nearly 800 human ships waited in formation between Earth and the approaching alien force. The commander studied the readings with growing confusion. How many vessels do they have? He asked his tactical officer. 783 confirmed contacts, Commander. Most appear to be military vessels of various sizes. Commander Vexitar's 4 eyes blinked in what humans might have mistaken for surprise. They built all of this in 3 months? Their industrial capacity is greater than our initial estimates. Shall we proceed with the attack, Commander? Yes, numbers mean little against superior technology. Begin the assault. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Bell stood on the bridge of the destroyer Atlantic, watching the alien fleet approach on his main screen. He had been promoted after Captain Morrison was given command of the entire human defense fleet, and now Ryan commanded his own ship with a crew of 200 brave souls who knew they might not survive the day. All ships, this is Admiral Morrison aboard Terra Nova, came Jake's voice over the communication system. Today we fight not just for Earth but for the right of humanity to exist as free beings. Show these aliens what humans are capable of when we stand together. The first shots came from the alien ships. Beams of bright energy lanced across space, striking human vessels with devastating effect. The destroyer Phoenix exploded in a ball of fire, taking all hands with it. 2 cruisers lost their main engines and began drifting helplessly. But the humans fought back with everything they had. Missiles streamed from human ships in clouds so thick they looked like swarms of angry insects. Most were destroyed by alien defenses, but some got through, exploding against energy shields that flickered and sparked under the impacts. Ryan noticed something important as the battle continued. The alien ships were individually superior, with better weapons and stronger defenses, but they fought in predictable patterns. Their formations were perfect, their movements coordinated, but they seemed unable to adapt when humans did something unexpected. "All ships, this is Atlantic," Ryan broadcast. "I'm going to try something crazy. Anyone willing to follow me, form up on my position." 23 human ships broke from the main formation and followed Atlantic toward a group of alien vessels. But instead of attacking in a straight line like military doctrine suggested, Ryan led his ships in a chaotic, seemingly random pattern that confused the alien targeting systems. "What are they doing?" Commander Vextar asked his tactical officer as he watched the human ships weave through space like drunken animals. "I'm not sure, Commander. Their movement patterns make no tactical sense." That was exactly what Ryan was counting on. As the alien ships tried to predict where the humans would go next, Ryan suddenly ordered his entire group to converge on a single enemy vessel. 24 human ships attacked one alien ship from different angles simultaneously, overwhelming its shields and destroying it in seconds. Captain Maria Santos commanded the heavy cruiser Denver, one of the largest ships in the human fleet. She watched Ryan's successful attack and immediately understood what he was doing. Humans didn't have to fight like the aliens expected them to fight. "Denver to all nearby ships," Maria broadcast. "We're going to ram that big alien ship. Anyone who wants to help, follow me in." 6 human ships followed Denver in a direct assault on an alien dreadnought. The aliens concentrated their fire on the approaching vessels, destroying 4 of them before they could reach their target. But Maria kept Denver on course even as her ship took massive damage. "Captain, we've lost main power," her engineering officer reported. "Life support is failing." "Then we better hit them before we all die," Maria replied calmly. Denver struck the alien dreadnought at full speed, punching through its energy shields and tearing a massive hole in its hull. The explosion destroyed both ships, but it also created a gap in the alien formation that smaller human vessels immediately exploited. Commander Vextar watched in growing disbelief as the battle continued. Human ships that should have retreated when damaged instead became more aggressive. Vessels with destroyed weapon systems rammed alien ships. Crews on disabled vessels manually overloaded their reactors to create explosions that damaged nearby enemy craft. "Their behavior makes no sense," Vextar said to his bridge crew. "They continue fighting even when victory is impossible. Do they not understand when they are defeated?" What the commander didn't understand was that humans had spent their entire evolutionary history fighting impossible odds. Every human alive was descended from ancestors who had survived ice ages, plagues, predators, and countless wars. The concept of surrendering when things looked hopeless was foreign to their nature. Lieutenant Nina Foster piloted her fighter Lucky 7 through a cloud of alien interceptors, her ship's weapons blazing. She had been flying for 6 hours straight and was exhausted, but she kept fighting because her squadron mates were counting on her. An alien energy beam clipped her fighter, destroying her left engine and cracking her cockpit canopy. Warning lights flashed all over her control panel, and she could taste blood in her mouth from where she had bitten her tongue during the impact. "Lucky 7, this is Control," came a voice from the carrier Yorktown. "You're badly damaged. Return to base for repairs." "Negative, Control," Nina replied, steering her crippled fighter toward another group of alien ships. "I can still fight." Nina's damaged fighter wasn't fast enough to avoid the alien interceptors anymore, but she used that to her advantage. She let them get close, then activated her fighter's self-destruct system and rammed the nearest alien ship. The explosion took out 3 enemy fighters and severely damaged a 4th. This pattern repeated throughout the battle. Human ships that couldn't win through superior firepower won through tactics the aliens had never encountered. They used damaged vessels as weapons, turned retreats into ambushes, and coordinated attacks in ways that seemed random but were actually carefully planned. Captain Steve Tucker commanded the battleship New York, one of humanity's most powerful warships. He watched as the battle turned into a chaotic melee where individual ship actions mattered more than large-scale strategy. "All ships, concentrate fire on the alien command vessel," Steve ordered. "If we can take out their leader, maybe the rest will retreat." 50 human ships converged on Commander Vextar's flagship. The alien vessel's shields flared under the concentrated assault, but they held firm. The commander watched his tactical display as human ships swarmed around his vessel like angry bees. "Return fire," he ordered. "Destroy them all." The flagship's massive weapons began picking off human ships one by one, but more kept coming. Steve Tucker realized that conventional attacks weren't going to work against the alien vessel's powerful defenses. "New York to all ships," he broadcast. "I'm going to ram the flagship. Clear the area and continue the attack on other targets." "Steve, don't do it," came Jake Morrison's voice over the radio. "We need you alive. Admiral, someone has to do it. Take care of the fleet." Steve ordered his crew to abandon ship, but most of them refused to leave. They stayed at their stations as New York accelerated toward the alien flagship, firing every weapon they had. The battleship struck the alien vessel amidships, tearing through its shields and armor like paper. Both ships were destroyed in the collision, but the psychological effect on the alien fleet was enormous. No species in their empire had ever deliberately sacrificed such a powerful vessel to destroy an enemy ship. "Commander," his tactical officer reported, "we've lost 30% of our fleet. Human losses are approximately 40%, but they continue fighting with no indication of retreat." Commander Vextar stared at his tactical display in confusion. By all the rules of galactic warfare, the humans should have surrendered by now. Their losses were unsustainable, and they had no chance of ultimate victory against the Zephyrian Empire. "Signal the fleet," he finally ordered. "All ships withdraw to the outer system. We need to regroup and study these creatures more carefully." Admiral Jake Morrison watched from Terra Nova's bridge as the alien fleet began pulling back. His tactical officer looked at him with surprise. "Admiral, they're retreating." "I can see that," Jake replied. "Get me a casualty report and prepare for their return." This was just the first round. As the human fleet regrouped near Earth, Jake thought about what they had learned from the battle. The aliens were individually superior in every measurable way, but they didn't understand human psychology. They expected rational behavior based on mathematical calculations of victory and defeat. What they didn't realize was that humans didn't fight based on rational calculations. They fought because giving up meant death or slavery, and those weren't acceptable options. Every human who died in the battle had chosen to fight rather than surrender. The news of human resistance spread across the galaxy like wildfire, reaching the farthest corners of the Zephyrian Empire. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, a species called the Threnodi stopped their work in the crystal mines and looked up at the stars. For 300 years they had labored under alien rule, but now they heard whispers of a small blue planet where creatures called humans had done the impossible. "Is it true?" asked Threnodi worker designation 7742 to his cellmate. "Did they really defeat a Zephyrian battle fleet?" "Twice," replied his friend. "The broadcasts say they keep fighting even when they're dying. They ram their ships into enemy vessels rather than surrender." Similar conversations were happening on hundreds of worlds throughout the Empire. Species that had forgotten the meaning of freedom began remembering what their ancestors had lost. Rebellion sparked on distant planets as subjugated races witnessed proof that the Zephyrian Empire could bleed. "Commander." Vextar faced the most humiliating moment of his career as he stood before the Zephyrian High Council via holographic transmission. His flagship hung dead in space near Jupiter, too damaged to return home, while around him floated the wreckage of the most powerful fleet ever assembled. "Explain to us, Commander, how a primitive species with inferior technology has defeated our forces twice," said High Counselor Zixthera, her four eyes glowing with anger. "The humans fight unlike any species we have encountered," Vextar replied, his voice strained. "They show no fear of death and employ tactics that make no strategic sense. They sacrifice valuable resources for minimal tactical gains. But somehow this irrational behavior gives them advantages we cannot counter. You are telling us that our empire, which has conquered thousands of worlds, cannot defeat one backward planet? I am telling you that we need to reconsider our approach. The humans are spreading dangerous ideas throughout our territory. 17 worlds are now in open rebellion, inspired by their example." High Counselor Zixthera's skin changed color, a sign of extreme agitation in her species. "Then we will end this quickly. Assemble the Grand Fleet, every available warship from every sector. We will make an example of these humans that will silence rebellion for 1,000 years. Over the following months, The largest military force in galactic history converged on Earth's solar system. 1,500 warships from dozens of different star systems, carrying the combined might of an empire that spanned half the galaxy. Commander Vextar was given one final chance to redeem himself by leading this overwhelming force. But while the aliens prepared their massive fleet, humans had spent their time turning the entire solar system into a fortress. Captain Ben Clark commanded a network of hidden bases scattered throughout the asteroid belt, each one equipped with weapons and supplies for extended guerrilla warfare. They think they can overwhelm us with numbers, Ben told his officers aboard the concealed base sanctuary. 7. But we've had months to prepare. Surprises for them. Major Grace Thompson coordinated similar hidden installations throughout the outer solar system. Mining stations on the moons of Saturn and Jupiter had been converted into military bases. Asteroid miners had become guerrilla fighters, ready to emerge from concealment when the time was right. Every rock in this system is a potential weapons platform, Grace reported during an encrypted communication with Earth Defense Command. When they come, they'll find enemies everywhere they look. The aliens' plan was to bypass human defenses and strike directly at Earth, forcing humanity's surrender through the threat of planetary bombardment. But as the Grand Fleet entered the solar system, they discovered that humans had anticipated this strategy. Admiral Jake Morrison now commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled. Over 2,000 ships, including vessels built in hidden shipyards throughout the outer planets. Many were equipped with advanced hybrid technology that human scientists had developed by combining alien systems with human ingenuity. All ships. "This is Admiral Morrison," Jake broadcast as the alien armada approached. "Today we fight not just for Earth but for every enslaved species in their empire. Show them that freedom cannot be conquered." The battle began with alien attempts to break through human defenses around Neptune's orbit. But the humans had learned from their previous encounters. Instead of meeting the aliens in open battle, they used hit-and-run tactics designed to wear down the massive enemy fleet. Captain Joey Miller led a squadron of fast attack ships in lightning raids against alien formations. His vessels would appear from asteroid fields, strike hard at enemy targets, then disappear before the aliens could respond effectively. Miller's squadron engaging alien cruiser formation, Joey reported as his ships emerged from behind a large asteroid. "Missiles away!" The attack destroyed 3 alien vessels before Miller's squadron vanished back into the asteroid field. Similar attacks were happening throughout the solar system as human forces used their intimate knowledge of local space to their advantage, but the real shock came when the aliens realized that human crews had been awake and fighting for days without rest. While alien soldiers required regular sleep cycles and optimal environmental conditions, human fighters seemed capable of sustained combat operations that defied biological logic. Lieutenant Colonel Andy Ross commanded a defense station built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. His crew had been on alert for 72 hours straight, repelling wave after wave of alien attacks. "Sir, don't you think we should rotate the crew?" asked his second-in-command. "They've been fighting for 3 days." "Look at them," Andy replied, gesturing at his crew working at their battle stations. "They're tired, but they're still fighting. The aliens can't understand that humans get stronger when we're pushed to our limits, not weaker." This was the critical difference that the aliens had never encountered before. Every species in their empire had been bred for compliance over thousands of years. They lacked the aggressive survival instincts and adaptive capabilities that evolution had preserved in humans through constant environmental challenges and warfare. Commander Vextar watched his tactical displays with growing horror as the Grand Fleet suffered losses that should have been impossible. Human ships that appeared destroyed would suddenly reveal hidden weapon systems. Formations that seemed chaotic would execute perfectly coordinated attacks. And worst of all, the humans showed no signs of fatigue even after days of continuous fighting. "How are they maintaining this level of combat effectiveness?" he demanded from his medical officer. "Their physiology is unlike anything in our databases," came the reply. "Human stress response systems actually improve performance under extreme conditions. They become more dangerous when wounded, more determined when facing death." The turning point came when Captain Lisa North executed the most audacious human plan yet. She had positioned her task force in the shadow of Jupiter's largest moon, waiting for the perfect moment to strike at the heart of the alien fleet. "All ships, this is North Squadron," she broadcast as her force of 50 ships emerged from concealment. "Target the alien command vessels. Let's cut the head off this snake. Lisa's ship struck when the alien fleet was spread out across multiple attack formations. Her concentrated assault destroyed 17 major command vessels, including 2 super dreadnoughts that were coordinating the entire invasion force. But the real devastation came from what happened next. Without their command structure, the various alien species in the Grand Fleet began fighting according to their individual doctrines, rather than as a coordinated force. Communication broke down, friendly fire incidents increased, and the massive alien advantage in numbers became a liability. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from multiple alien vessels," reported Jake Morrison's communication officer aboard Liberty. "Surrender requests? From individual ships?" "Yes, sir. Apparently, many of the species in their fleet were forced into this invasion. With their command structure destroyed, some are choosing to surrender rather than continue fighting." This was something the humans had never expected. The Zephyrian Empire wasn't a unified force of willing allies, but a collection of conquered species held together by fear and superior technology. When that technology failed to guarantee victory, the entire structure began to collapse. Commander Vextar found himself commanding a disintegrating fleet as ship after ship either surrendered to human forces or simply withdrew from the battle. His own flagship was surrounded by human vessels that should have been destroyed days ago, but somehow kept fighting. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship," his communication officer reported. "Put it through." Admiral Jake Morrison's face appeared on the main screen, looking tired but determined. "Commander Vexitar, I'm offering you one chance to surrender. Your fleet is defeated, your empire is collapsing, and continuing to fight will only result in more unnecessary deaths. You cannot defeat the Zephyrian Empire with one small fleet," Vextar replied, but his voice lacked conviction. "We're not defeating your empire," Jake said with a slight smile. "Your empire is defeating itself. We just showed everyone else that it could be done." As if to prove his point, Jake's tactical officer handed him a data pad. "Commander, we're intercepting alien communications from across their territory." Commander Vextar paced around his command chamber aboard the flagship, his 6 arms moving in agitated patterns as he tried to understand what had happened during the battle. His fleet had retreated to a staging area in the asteroid belt, where reinforcements from across the Zephyrian Empire were arriving daily. "The humans fought like animals," reported his chief tactical advisor, a tall alien with blue-gray skin. "They showed no regard for their own survival. Many of their ships continued attacking even when completely disabled." "This cannot be normal behavior for an intelligent species," Vextar replied. "Perhaps they suffer from some kind of mental illness that prevents them from recognizing hopeless situations." The advisor nodded. "It would explain their irrational tactics. No civilized species would sacrifice so many resources for such minimal strategic gain." What the aliens didn't understand was that their defeat had sent shockwaves throughout their empire. News of the human resistance spread to subjugated worlds across the galaxy, and for the first time in centuries, other species began questioning Zephyrian invincibility. On Earth, the human response to the alien threat intensified beyond anything the invaders could have imagined. Colonel Danny Wright oversaw the construction of massive orbital defense platforms around Earth and its moon. Working 24 hours a day, human construction crews built weapons platforms, shield generators, and automated defense systems. "How many platforms will be ready for the next attack?" asked General Parker during a briefing at Defense Command headquarters. 230 completed, with another 100 coming online every week, Danny reported. "We're also installing hidden weapons in the asteroid fields throughout the solar system." Dr. Karen Lee led teams of scientists working around the clock to understand alien technology recovered from the battlefield. Damaged alien ships and equipment were transported to secret facilities where human engineers tried to reverse engineer their advanced systems. The alien energy shields work on principles we're just beginning to understand, Karen explained to a gathering of military leaders. "But we've managed to create crude copies that should provide some protection for our ships." Captain Steve Tucker had survived the ramming attack on the alien flagship when his crew forced him into an escape pod at the last moment. Now he commanded a new vessel, the battleship Texas, which was equipped with the first human-built energy shields. The hybrid technology was primitive compared to alien systems, but it worked. Human ships began appearing with modified alien technology combined with human innovations. The designs were crude and often unreliable, but they gave humanity capabilities they had never possessed before. It's not pretty, but it'll keep us alive a little longer, Steve told his engineering officer as they tested the new shield systems. The aliens won't expect us to have their technology. Lieutenant Nina Foster had also survived her fighter's destruction and was now training new pilots in tactics developed during the first battle. She taught them how to use human unpredictability as a weapon against alien formations. "Don't fly like they expect you to fly," she told a group of rookie pilots. "Be random, be crazy, be willing to die if it means taking them with you." The aliens can predict logical tactics, but they can't predict human stubbornness. The second major battle began near Mars, where the enlarged alien fleet encountered human defenses that had grown both larger and more sophisticated. Commander Vextar now commanded over 600 ships, reinforced with vessels from 3 different star systems. "This time we will not underestimate them," he told his captains. "Deploy in standard formation and maintain discipline. Do not be drawn into their chaotic fighting style." Admiral Jake Morrison watched the approaching alien fleet from his new flagship, the massive dreadnought Liberty. The human fleet had grown to over 1,000 ships, many equipped with hybrid human-alien technology that confused enemy sensors. "All ships, remember what we learned last time," Jake broadcast to his fleet. "They expect us to fight like a civilized military. Show them what uncivilized humans can do." The battle began with coordinated alien attacks on human positions around Mars. Energy beams and missile barrages lit up space as both fleets maneuvered for advantage. But this time, the humans were ready with new tactics and equipment. Captain Ben Clark commanded a squadron of modified human destroyers, equipped with experimental cloaking devices, reverse-engineered from alien technology. His ships appeared on alien sensors as small asteroids until they opened fire at point-blank range. Clark's squadron engaging. Ben reported as his ships dropped their camouflage and unleashed everything they had at an alien cruiser. The surprised vessel exploded before it could raise its shields. Throughout the battle, humans demonstrated capabilities the aliens hadn't expected. Ships that appeared crippled suddenly revealed hidden weapons. Formations that seemed chaotic revealed themselves as carefully coordinated traps. And most importantly, humans continued fighting under conditions that would have broken other species. Major Grace Thompson led a boarding party onto an alien battleship that had been disabled by missile strikes. Her Marines fought their way through the ship's corridors, engaging alien crew members in close combat. "Keep moving," Grace shouted as her team advanced through a damaged section of the alien vessel. "We need to reach their reactor core before they can repair their engines." The aliens they fought were taller and stronger than humans, but they had a critical weakness. When injured or stressed, their performance declined rapidly. Human soldiers, on the other hand, often fought more fiercely when wounded or desperate. Private Joey Miller took 3 alien energy bolts to his chest armor but kept fighting, using his rifle like a club when his ammunition ran out. The aliens couldn't understand how he remained combat effective while bleeding from multiple wounds. Human. Pain tolerance exceeds all recorded species norms. An alien medic reported to Commander Vexistar during the battle. "They continue fighting with injuries that would incapacitate our warriors." The turning point came when Lieutenant Colonel Andy Ross discovered that human endurance far exceeded alien capabilities. While alien crews required regular rest periods and optimal environmental conditions, human fighters had been awake and battle-ready for days without significant performance degradation. "Sir, the alien ships are rotating crews every 8 hours, Andy reported to Admiral Morrison. "But our people have been fighting for 16 hours straight and they're still effective." Jake realized this was a crucial advantage. "All ships prepare for extended operations. We're going to keep fighting until they can't keep up anymore." What followed was the longest continuous space battle in galactic history. Human ships maintained combat operations for days while alien vessels were forced to withdraw periodically to rest their crews and maintain their equipment. Commander Vextar watched in growing frustration as his supposedly superior fleet was ground down by human persistence. "How are they maintaining this pace? Our crews are exhausted. The humans appear capable of functioning with minimal rest," his medical officer reported. "Their physiology allows them to operate under stress conditions that would be fatal to most species." The final phase of the battle saw human forces executing their most audacious plan yet. Captain Lisa North, commanding a task force of 30 ships, had hidden behind Jupiter's moons for 3 days, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. All ships, this is North Squadron, she broadcast as her force emerged from concealment. Target the alien command vessels. Time to end this. Lisa's ship struck at the heart of the alien fleet when their crews were exhausted and their guard was down. The surprise attack destroyed 12 major alien vessels, including 2 command ships. Commander Vextar's own flagship took critical damage during the assault. As emergency systems failed around him, he stared at his tactical display showing the destruction of his fleet. More than half his ships were destroyed or disabled, while the humans seemed as determined as ever. Signal all ships, he finally ordered. Begin withdrawal to the outer system. We need to regroup and request additional reinforcements. As the alien fleet retreated once again, this time in complete disarray, Jake Morrison opened a communication channel to Earth. Control, this is Admiral Morrison. The aliens are retreating. Mars sector is secure. The celebration was brief because everyone knew this was only the second round of a much longer fight. But something important had changed. Word of human victories was spreading throughout alien space, inspiring rebellions on worlds that had been subjugated for generations. Dr. Sam Wilson, monitoring alien communications from a secret listening post, reported disturbing news to Earth's leadership. We're intercepting messages from across their empire. Multiple star systems are in rebellion. They're calling us the species that cannot be broken. President Amy Rodriguez looked at the strategic reports with mixed emotions. We wanted to survive. We didn't expect to start a galactic revolution. Maybe that's what the galaxy needed, Jake replied from his flagship. Someone to show that the Zephyrian Empire isn't invincible. Commander Vextar, nursing his wounds aboard his damaged flagship, sent an urgent message to the Zephyrian High Council. The humans are not the primitive species we believed them to be. They possess capabilities we do not understand. The Zephyrian Grand Fleet limped away from Earth's solar system in complete disarray, leaving behind the wreckage of the most powerful military force ever assembled. Commander Vextar sat in his damaged command chair, staring at reports that painted a picture of total collapse. Of the 1,500 ships that had entered the system, fewer than 400 remained operational. Commander, we're receiving an urgent transmission from the High Council, his communication officer reported. The holographic image of High Counselor Zix Thara appeared, but she looked nothing like the confident leader who had ordered the Grand Fleet's deployment. Her skin had turned a sickly gray color, and her 4 eyes darted nervously around her chamber. Commander Vextar, what is your status? She demanded. The Grand Fleet has been defeated, Vextar replied simply. We are withdrawing from human space with massive casualties. More importantly, the rebellion has spread beyond our ability to control. How many star systems are now in revolt? 73 confirmed, with reports of uprisings in dozens more. Our garrison fleets are overwhelmed, and many of our subject species are actively hunting down Imperial forces. High Counselor Zix Thara closed her eyes in what humans would have recognized as despair. How did we lose control of an empire we have ruled for millennia? We underestimated one small species, Vextar said, and they showed the galaxy that we are not invincible. On Earth, the victory celebration was tempered by the knowledge that the war had changed everything. President Amy Rodriguez met with military leaders in the secure conference room beneath Defense Command headquarters, reviewing intelligence reports from across the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire is collapsing, reported Dr. Sam Wilson, head of Alien Intelligence Analysis. We're monitoring communications from rebel forces on hundreds of worlds. They're all using tactics they learned from studying our battles. Admiral Jake Morrison, still commanding the human fleet from his flagship Liberty, joined the meeting via secure transmission. The question is what happens next. We've got alien refugees requesting asylum, rebel forces asking for military support, and Imperial remnants that might still pose a threat. General Chris Parker leaned forward in his chair. What do you recommend, Admiral? We help them, Jake replied without hesitation. These species have been enslaved for centuries. If we don't help them build stable governments, the galaxy could descend into chaos. Captain Joey Miller commanded one of the first human ships to venture beyond the solar system after the victory. His mission was to make contact with rebel forces and assess their needs. When he arrived at the Kepler 442 system, he found a world in transition, the Threnody, who had labored in crystal mines under Zephyrian rule, had overthrown their overseers and were trying to build a new society, but centuries of oppression had left them unprepared for self-governance. "Welcome, human," said the Threnody leader who greeted Joey at their makeshift spaceport. "We have heard of your great victory. Will you help us learn to be free?" Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy, as human ships arrived at world after world where alien species were struggling to rebuild after throwing off imperial rule. Many had never governed themselves and looked to humanity for guidance. Captain Ben Clark led a convoy of supply ships to the Vega system, where a species called the Mortak were fighting starvation after their imperial food distribution system collapsed. His ships carried not just food and medical supplies, but human advisors who could help them organize their own supply networks. "The hardest part isn't fighting for freedom," Ben told a gathering of Mortak leaders. "It's learning how to use it responsibly." Meanwhile, Commander Vexitar had received new orders from what remained of the Zephyrian High Council. Rather than continue a war they could not win, they were authorized to negotiate a peace treaty with humanity. The meeting took place aboard a neutral space station in the Alpha Centauri system. Admiral Jake Morrison led the human delegation, which included Dr. Lisa Grant, now Earth's top expert on galactic civilizations, and Ambassador Katie Ross, who had been hastily trained in interstellar diplomacy. Commander Vextar arrived with a much smaller delegation than the imposing force he had brought to Earth months earlier. He looked older, tired, and for the first time since Jake had met him, uncertain. "Admiral Morrison," Vextar said as they met in the station's main conference room, "I come seeking an end to this war." "War implies that both sides had a chance of winning," Jake replied calmly. "What you started was an attempted conquest. What we finished was a liberation." The alien commander's 4 eyes focused on Jake with what might have been respect. "You are correct. We underestimated your species in every possible way. We saw physical weakness and assumed mental weakness as well. We were wrong." Dr. Lisa Grant had spent months studying captured alien technology and interrogating prisoners. Her research had revealed something that shocked even her scientific mind. "Commander, our analysis shows that most species in your empire have been selectively bred for compliance over thousands of years. You deliberately weakened them to make them easier to control." "It was efficient," Vextar admitted. "Rebellious traits were discouraged. Aggressive tendencies were bred out. Independent thinking was suppressed. It allowed us to maintain order across vast distances with minimal military presence. But it also made them vulnerable," Katie Ross observed. "When someone showed them that resistance was possible, they had the courage to fight back even if they lacked the skills." The negotiations continued for days as both sides worked out the details of what would become known as the Sol Accords. The treaty established humanity not as conquerors, but as partners in building a new galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than domination. "What guarantees do we have that humanity won't simply become the next galactic empire?" asked one of Vextar's advisors. Jake Morrison smiled. "The same guarantee we had when we started this fight. Humans don't like being told what to do, and we don't like telling others what to do either. We just want to live free and help others do the same." The final ceremony took place aboard the space station with representatives from dozens of former Imperial worlds present. As Admiral Jake Morrison and Commander Vextar signed the historic agreement, ships from across the galaxy watched via holographic transmission. "Today marks the end of the Zephyrian Empire and the beginning of something new," Jake announced to the assembled delegates. "We're calling it the Galactic Federation, and membership is voluntary. Any species that wants to govern itself is welcome to join. Any species that doesn't want to join is free to go its own way." Commander Vextar stood slowly, his tall frame seeming diminished by the weight of history. "Admiral Morrison, I must ask you something. How did you know that we could be defeated? Your species had no knowledge of galactic warfare, no experience fighting advanced technology. What made you believe victory was possible?" Jake thought for a moment before answering. "We didn't know we could win. We just knew we couldn't surrender. There's a difference between accepting defeat and refusing to be defeated. Humans learned a long time ago that sometimes the only way to survive is to keep fighting, when fighting seems hopeless." "But the cost," Vextar pressed. "Your species lost thousands of ships and hundreds of thousands of lives. How do you justify such sacrifice?" "The same way we justify everything else," Jake replied. "By asking what would have happened if we hadn't fought. You offered us slavery disguised as protection. We chose freedom even if it meant death. That choice is what makes us human. As the ceremony concluded and delegates began departing for their homeworlds, Dr. Sam Wilson presented Jake with a final intelligence report about the state of the galaxy. The last Imperial holdouts have surrendered or fled to the Galactic Rim, Sam reported. 47 species have applied for Federation membership. Another 33 have declared independence and seem capable of governing themselves. Only a few scattered systems remain under authoritarian rule, and those are dealing with their own rebellions. Captain Maria Santos, who had survived her ramming attack on the alien dreadnought, now commanded one of the first mixed-species crews in Federation history. Her ship, the new cruiser Harmony, carried both human and alien personnel working together as equals. "It's strange," Maria told Jake during a private communication. 6 months ago we were fighting for our survival. Now we're helping former enemies rebuild their civilizations. "That's what humans do," Jake replied. "We fight like hell when we have to, but we prefer to build things rather than destroy them." The transformation of galactic civilization continued over the following months. Human engineers worked alongside alien scientists to develop new technologies that benefited everyone. Human military advisors helped train Federation defense forces, but always with the understanding that each world would defend itself rather than rely on a central military power. Captain Steve Tucker, now commanding the battleship Freedom, led joint patrols with former Imperial ships whose crews had joined the Federation. The sight of human and alien vessels flying side by side became a symbol of the new galactic order. "Admiral, do you ever wonder what would have happened if Commander Vextar had been right about us?" Steve asked during one of their patrols. "If we really had been too weak to resist,